Hey YouTube world, welcome to the Travel with T-Bone show. I am your host T-Bone, and I'm going to be answering a question I commonly get from whether it's a comments or an email or a direct message, which is about getting started teaching abroad. So I will make this video because this guy had a lot of questions, and this guy is called AMD Nivram. He's asking questions about what is a tier 3 city, the requirements to teach, your work hours, how much money should I have saved up, how did I find a job in China, how do I get tutoring as a way to pay off his graduate school. So let's read his comment and answer his questions one by one, and I'll give you some practical advice and some things to consider when coming here. So, hey, I was wondering if you could answer some questions about teaching abroad. I'm currently a BA holder from the US and want to try working abroad to pay off student loans and then save up for grad school. How did you find a job in China along with finding customers to tutor? Do you need a recommended amount to have saved before going abroad? What kinds of work hours are you dealing with? What requirements would you say are necessary to teach? What is a tier 3 city? Thanks for your time. Well, AMD Nivram, thank you for the questions. This allows me to give a little bit back to the community, and it gives me a little bit of content as well for the channel for not only you to enjoy, but for other people who are interested in China. So let's start off. The requirements. The first thing is you are in hold of a golden ticket. You've got the golden ticket already. You are from the greatest country in the world, as some might say, the United States, and you have a BA, which is pretty much all they want as teaching requirements. The other thing you do need is to be healthy. You need a health check, proving that you're fine, you don't have HIV, and you also need a criminal background check to make sure you are a good law-abiding citizen. So I remember with the degree and the criminal background check, it needs to be verified 3 times. So the first verification is at your local notary. They will give you a little stamp, sign it, have them date it, and you're off on your way. You have both of your documents notarized. Then you take it to step 2. Step 2 is the Secretary of State, where they apply apostilles to it. Do not remove the apostilles after they're done. And then step 3 is you take it to a Chinese consulate. I did mine in Chicago, and you pay out the ass for Chinese certification, so that way you can be a legal teacher here to get a Z visa. The Z visa is your teacher's visa, and it is what most people have when they come over, and it is required to work in China legally. I know some people who have gone the other route. They've come here on a tourist visa. They go through Hong Kong and they have to leave every few months. That is an option. It is illegal, and I do not recommend it. I've seen some people get away with it. I've seen some people get caught teaching illegally in about a week's time from being in China, and it was a shitty situation for them. So do not spend a lot of money on an airplane ticket in a situation where you can get completely screwed. So that's my thoughts on just getting started. So if you meet all of these requirements, you're still in the running. Let's keep going. How did you find a job in China along with finding customers to tutor? If you have a friend can probably get you a better job than what you'll find online. Most people go to Dave's ESL Cafe, and there's a few other websites similar to that, but Dave's ESL Cafe is the starting point. These are your starting jobs when you're doing an ESL gig in a new country. Odds are these aren't your best jobs. Your best jobs are going to be gotten through networking with other people or other means for jobs. One can be networking, another can be WeChat groups, which WeChat is a very popular program on your cell phone that allows you to message people, send money, call taxis, and pretty much anything you can imagine can be done on WeChat. So definitely get that if you're coming to China. And then you also asked about finding customers to tutor. So if you're going to find customers to tutor, it's the same thing. Most of my coworkers, if not all of them at my previous schools, had some sort of side gig. They will work for a training center on the side. They will do one-on-one lessons if they're on the side. They might teach to adults, they might teach to middle schoolers, they might teach to young kids. The options are yours, and you get to choose what you like, because odds are they need you more than you need them. So keep that in mind. How would you go about finding it? Option 1. You talk with your coworkers, and then they give you some ideas on where to look. Some of your coworkers who will be leaving China will probably have those side gigs, and they'll more than happily pass it off onto you. Option 2, obviously, it goes back to WeChat. WeChat has a group function, so there are teachers groups, many teachers groups in China. Join one that's in your area. It'll have the people that run the schools, and it'll have people that want to work at the schools. All you have to do is keep your eye on the groups and then go from there. When you get into the training centers or whatever it is, you can be networking with more people to get better jobs. Odds are you'll start off low, like 200 or 250 RMB an hour, and you can make up to 350, 400. I've heard some people make as much as 600 RMB an hour, which is about $100 an hour, which is pretty great, and it's going to help you a lot for paying off graduate school. Now, you're at the point of getting to China. Now, what about, you said, do you need or recommend an amount to have saved before going abroad? Yes, you definitely need money before you come to China. You don't need a lot, thankfully. Japan is very expensive, thousands upon thousands of dollars. I came to China with next to nothing. I was working for a Hagwon, which is a training center and academy, if you will, when I was in South Korea. The boss was stealing money from me, from some of my other employees, and then magically disappeared. So that sucked, and that's why I had to leave. That's a whole nother story. But I went back to the United States, and I had probably $1,000 to my name. I worked in a factory to save up that $1,000. I spent about half of it on a plane ticket from Hainan Airlines to get from Chicago to Guangzhou, and the other half, it was all mine to live off of for about a month. So that was hard. $500 is enough to live off of if you're new to China, but it's going to be hard. Depending, and how hard it might be depends on your school. If you're working at a kindergarten, like where I started, kindergartens will generally give you food for breakfast and lunch. It is not the healthiest. You might feel sick. You might get jellyfish. You might get all sorts of weird stuff you're not comfortable eating, but it is food. I guarantee you that they will give you food, and you can live off of that for the first month before you start having some money in your pocket that you can use to buy other foods you're more comfortable with. If you're working for an elementary school, it depends on the elementary school, and the same with a middle school and high school as well. But with colleges, from my experience working at colleges, they don't pay for your food, so you have to flip the bill yourself. So that $500, I think, reasonably should become about $1,000, because you're probably going to need to buy a cell phone, at least a cell phone plan, if you're going to do WeChat, which you definitely need in China. You're going to probably buy pots and pans. You're going to be buying other basic necessities like startup stuff, toothpaste, shampoo, mouthwash, shower stuff, towels, random things that you need that you wouldn't necessarily suspect. And then you might be caught up in the situation where you need to meet, your coworkers, and they're going to say, hey, let's go out. And you got to spend a little money on going out as well. So that way you can make friends and do that sort of thing. So have a bit of money saved up. The next question you asked was, what kind of work hours are you dealing with? So it all depends on the school. The most work I think you're going to do starts with the training centers. The training centers, I think, are the lowest if you're going to be working there on a contract. You tend to work the most, from what I can tell, with the most amount of classes, and you're probably going to work 30 hours a week or so from a training center. And that's a lot of teaching. Moving up a step, which is where I worked for my first full-time job, was a kindergarten. That was 8 to 5:30 with a 3-hour lunch break, which was really nice because then I had an hour to where I had lunch, and then after that I had time for studying, so that was great. If you're going to do grad school online, that's something to keep in mind. If you're going to work at a college, you might be working 2 to 6 hours a day. You might work 3 days a week. You might work 4 days a week. You might work 5 days a week. From what I can tell, some places have you work 8 hours a week. Some people have 4. That's probably not going to pay you a lot of money, though, since you're thinking about money. Look for like something in maybe up north, Guangdong, somewhere near Beijing, where you might get like 8 to 12, maybe 16 hours a week, and the pay will be a bit more. Your salary for those colleges are going to be a bit lower, especially if it's off Dave's ESL Cafe. Expect to make anywhere from like 8 to 9,000 RMB. And once you get in, you can start finding better jobs that pay more money. Sometimes as high as like 15,000 RMB a month at a college, which is definitely something to keep in mind if you're looking at paying at graduate school. What are the requirements that are necessary to teach? Like I said, you've got a BA. You're from the United States. You're golden. I like the TEFL because the TEFL will help you get better jobs that can pay more money. And it's just a nice little gold star that makes you look sweet. So do that, and it makes your teaching better. I like having better teachers here in China because some people don't care. They show up wasted and they do a crappy job. I'd rather see good teachers here instead of mediocre, non-existent at all. And some places are really desperate where they keep them around even though they're doing a terrible job because they don't have anyone else that's a foreigner to teach it. So that's something to consider as well. Then what is a tier 3 city? So this is definitely important, and it's something you should be considering as well when you're choosing a place to live in China. So the reason I say this is a little more than a year ago, they changed the system. They changed the system to a point-based system, which I had to fly, lucky me, back from China to the United States to redo all of my paperwork because I switched jobs. So there's 3 tiers in the visa system. There's your A grade foreigners, your B grade foreigners, and your C grade foreigners. If you fall into the C grade category, you're probably not going to get a visa. If you fall into the A grade category, please tell me your secrets because you need a lot of money. And as an English teacher, you're not going to be doing that. You're probably 99.9999999% of the time, you are definitely going to be in that B category. So how you get the B is important to know. If you're in a tier 1 city, the biggest ones, such as Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, the big, more modern ones, you're going to get less points. If you go to a less modern city, something like Hohhot or something else, then you're going to get more points. If you go to a tier 3 city, you're going to get even more points. The reason why is the government wants to help out these smaller, more impoverished cities grow, so they give more points to the foreigners coming to teach in China who are willing to help out the smaller areas versus the places that are already developed, right? So keep that in mind when selecting a place so that way you get enough points to be in the B bracket. Next, when you get these visa points, another thing to consider is your degree and where you're from. You have a BA, so you've already got golden points there, so good job. And you're from the United States, good job. So you're doing great. Then the other factor they consider is how much money you're making. So if you're making a lot of money and you're in a tier 3 city, you have a very, very high chance of getting that B visa. However, if you're making a low amount of money and you're in a tier 1 city, you're probably going to fall into the C category, and then you might not get the visa. So something to consider there. Now, I'm going to give you some bonus stuff about what I'm doing, so about grad school and all that other fun stuff. So if you stuck around this long, thank you. For you guys who are looking for grad school advice or not, you can turn it off here. But if you are, here's what I'm doing. So I'm doing my master's degree through Arizona State University. They have a pretty comprehensive online program that I would recommend you looking at and considering your options if you want to do grad school. And I would recommend doing it here in China online for a few reasons. Number one, reason one is you don't have to pay for housing. If you're paying for housing in the United States, the cheapest I paid for in the United States is about $200 a month. You times that by 12, that's $2,400. And then you also have to consider your bills and living expenses. Now, that's much, much cheaper in China. So let's just say you do that and you throw out, I don't know, you get rid of $4,000 in expenses that way, right? A lot of people do that in student loans. That's $4,000 off your student loans that you don't have to even think about because your housing's going to be free. Then the other part is also the food, right? That would fall into the expenses category. Food is pretty cheap here, and you're going to make more than enough money to pay for your food, so much so that you'll probably be able to save, I would say, $1,000 easily a month. So that's $12,000 a year. That is more than a semester of graduate school, hey? So you might take a few $1,000s worth of student loans to pay for a full year. So like $4,000 for a year of graduate school is a pretty good deal. Another thing to consider is buying books and textbooks. Now, since you have your BA, that buying textbooks could be extremely expensive. Some of them are close to $100, $200, sometimes $300 for a textbook. It's absurd. I agree and know that it sucks. Now, however, there's websites in China such as Taobao where you can buy you can buy the same sort of books for a much, much cheaper price. So you could buy your same textbook that would normally cost you, say, $60 for about $3. Now, when you add that up over 4 semesters, you've just saved another $1,000, $2,000 off of your graduate school price, and you're putting that right into your pocket, so you're not going so deeply into debt. And then on top of that, if you're doing your work as a university professor here in China, I think it's the best option. You'll have so much free time that doing your master's won't be that much of a burden on you. Personally, I don't think I could ever do a master's working at a kindergarten because from my experience, I was, teaching to the kids only 2 hours a day. But then you have to play with the kids. You've got to carry ladders. You've got to pick up all of their junk. When they make a mess, you've got to do like finger painting. You got to make crafts. There's a lot of extra stuff that goes in with working at a kindergarten that's going to tire you out, which I think is why they gave us a 3-hour lunch break, because they want you to take a nap and use that Chinese siesta culture to rest up for the second half of the day because you're going to need it. On the other hand, with universities, it's a lot more chill. You can have conversations that aren't about colors and about the ABCs, but like movies and other stuff that you like, and have some sort of like more in-depth sort of conversation with some of your students, which is nice and refreshing. And it just doesn't tire you out as much, which you can use that energy for graduate school. You could use that money for saving up more money by finding those side gigs that you're interested in, or just, spending time with your friends. So that's pretty much all I can say about this video. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, give it a like. If you disliked it, give it a dislike. Tell me why in the comments below, because I really appreciate feedback so I can make my videos better for everyone out there. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks. Have a good one, and bye.